it's just important, that those attackers could have access to your phone numbers, your addresses, and use that information against you. As an example, send you an email impersonating someone that you might know and following that up with a text message or a WhatsApp message to your phone number.
Hello and welcome again. I'm your host, Chukunonso Modi. We are fast approaching the Yuletide season, and while it's a period for us to relax, with many of us looking forward to some time off, the combination of relaxation and increased spending during the festive season heightens cybercrime activities, and the season will likely be a bonanza for online criminals. Joining us to share tips for staying digitally secure during the holidays is Brendan Kotze, Chief Development Officer at Performanta. Welcome, Brendan. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Nonso. Hi to your listeners. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Now let's start with this. In your opinion, how has cybercrime evolved today?
Well, so I think that cybercrime is, it's evolved over the last couple of years, or become at least a lot more prevalent. So we're seeing a huge move of cyber attackers into monetizing the individual rather than the existing targeting corporates, targeting businesses. And certainly while that's definitely continuing to happen, we see those attacker groups starting to move to target individuals in their personal capacity.
Okay, all right. Now, what are the factors that heighten the risk of online crime?
So I think especially going into the December period, I see, there's obviously everybody's been cooped up in home for way too long, looking to get out there, obviously increased spending. And I think perhaps, COVID has allowed us to let our guard down a little bit in terms of our online presence and in terms of our shopping habits, especially online.
Yeah, true. Now let's talk about how this season is providing criminals with significantly more opportunities. Why this season particularly? Why is this more of a period when they can attack without you knowing?
And so, it's really about, user behavior. Everybody's trying to pick up on, the latest and greatest specials. Black Friday's coming up, Cyber Monday's coming up. Lots of specials available. And obviously everybody's starting to travel, move around again. Perhaps connecting to internet banking and things like that through coffee hot shops now that we can get into, have a cappuccino nowadays. So really it comes down to the behavior. Okay. Now, please share with us tips, ways in which we can make ourselves digitally secure, protect ourselves from this online fraud or theft without spoiling our time out. Perfect. So I think first, if you are going to be traveling during the festive season, I think, it's really important that you notify the bank of where you're traveling. It just gives them the ability to triangulate your transactions and perhaps reduce false alerts, them calling you while you're on leave. Keep an eye on your bank statements. While everybody really should be relaxing, I would highly suggest not to relax too much. So just periodically check those statements. Again, as I mentioned earlier, try to avoid public Wi-Fi spots, coffee shops, restaurants, hotels. If you have to, use a virtual private network, or at least pair your device or do those transactions over your mobile phone. Another key thing is enabling your location services. So as an example, if you have, a Galaxy smartwatch or Galaxy phone or Apple, those devices have location services. So I'd recommend turning that location or find my device settings on, just in case that device gets stolen. And then I really think that one of the biggest ones is all major banks are now doing virtual cards. So if you are doing online shopping or online purchases, especially when they're not reputable online providers, you want to get that quick special off Facebook, highly recommend using a virtual card for those. And then really just watch out for holiday scams. Everybody's going to be trying to take advantage of your emotion from an attacker point of view. Big specials, heightened urgency. Really just keep an eye out for things like that. Anything that's instilling urgency or panic, just verify. Certainly don't click links in any of those emails. Don't open attachments in those mails. If you're feeling a little bit uneasy, rather try and contact directly the call center of the reported organization that's trying to contact you. And then any user that's out there that has a social media account, just check your privacy settings. Attackers are looking at social media. You might be advertising to the world that you're leaving your house, going on holiday. And that's something that obviously relates to more of a physical break-in or burglary. But just to be aware of what you're posting online, who you're sharing that content with.
Okay. All right. Now, these tips, are they just for this season alone? Because like we established, the cyber criminals do not take a break at all. So be it this season or without, these tips just for the season.
No, absolutely not. Those are tips for, basic cybersecurity hygiene. Adding to that, please, if there is any service that you have, social media, Gmail, any of those services, if that provider has the ability to enable two-factor authentication, highly encourage any users to do that. But certainly not limited to the season. Okay. But I think, that these attacks become far more prevalent over the December period.
All right, fantastic. Now, how has your company, Performanta, helped people, organizations to guard their environments, make it less susceptible to these cyber attacks?
So at Performanta, we provide multiple levels of services, whether that be selling technology and services, through to our managed detection and response. We have for corporates, which is 24/7 monitoring and alerting, keeping organizations safe. Because the next step down from an organization is obviously the individual. And that's why we really enjoy having, being on shows like yours, where we can impart some of that security knowledge and best practices down to the end user. Ultimately, that's who we're trying to protect.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Lastly, before I let you go, are there regulations? Is government playing a role in helping people who are attacked by the cyber criminals?
I think there certainly has been a regulatory move towards assisting all individuals, especially from a UK and US government perspective, and I think that's starting to trickle through to the South African context. We've seen fantastic legislation like Papaya come into place, which is really all about protecting the individual's information. And as an example, we've had some recent breaches in a South African context, including DOJ. That information, while it might not seem important to the end user, remember that if they've got you on file at all of that information is now probably going to be publicly available and being used to craft attacks against you. So we've seen a huge increase in South African phishing attacks, whether that was based off that date or other breaches. It's just important, that those attackers could have access to your phone numbers, your addresses, and use that information against you. As an example, send you an email impersonating someone that you might know, and following that up with a text message or a WhatsApp message to your phone number, just to make that interaction seem far more legitimate.
Yeah, true. Now, with this you just said, I remember having an experience, but thankfully I was able to catch on that it was a cyber criminal before I fell for it. Right.
You're one of the lucky ones then.
Yes, I'm one of the lucky ones. All right, thank you so much for sharing these tips with us, Brendan. It will surely go a long way in helping us enjoy our holidays without fear.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So that was Brendan Kotze, Chief Development Officer at Performanta. Stay tuned for more.